Hey, hello guys. So welcome back to another session on AWS. So in this session, we'll be covering what is uh, AWS RDS as well as DynamoDB. So I'll give a couple of minutes for others to join. So after that, we'll begin. I just want to get a quick confirmation if my voice is audible, and will then begin immediately. All right. I hope my voice is audible. So let's begin with today's session. So in this session, as I told, we'll be covering about what is AWS RDS and AWS DynamoDB. So before going into that, let's see what problem it solves. So if you follow the previous session, we know that we are trying to create a company which is similar to Netflix, right? So in order to do so, we already have a static website which we did in the previous session. So in this session, what we are going to do is, anyway, we need the user information, right? So whenever a person logs in into a Netflix website, they will be signing in, right? So we need the user's information. So in order to store that, we cannot store in a file or something. So that is not going to work on a larger scale. So in order to solve that, we need to go into database. So that's why we come into database. So our problem is to store the user information. So the solution is going to be in AWS. It is going to be AWS RDS or AWS DynamoDB. So RDS is a SQL database and AWS DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. So before seeing the difference between SQL and NoSQL database, let's see what is a SQL database in first place. So whenever you see a table something like this, so in this particular example, you can see a table called as salaries, you can see a table called as employees. So all these, what it means is, before even we start putting data inside the tables, we know what are the columns that is going to be available. So in this example, we know what is the employee details, right? So we have the employee number, we have the date of birth, we have the first name, we have the last name, we have the gender, and what date they were hired. So with this detail, you can always join with other entities. So if you want to get the salary information of this particular employee, you can just create a new table called as salaries. So with this employee number, you will be able to get the salary information of the particular employee. So if you see here, these are the other tables that has a common field called as employee number. So this is what SQL allows us to do. So if we have a well structured plan, we can always go with SQL database. So let's go with NoSQL database now. So in the NoSQL database, the major advantage here is it doesn't matter. Our data can be structured, it can be semi-structured, and it can be unstructured as well. So if in this example, if you see the sample here, the every data that in the previous SQL database that we saw, right? So I'll go back. So if we suppose if we are trying to convert this to a NoSQL database, what would have happened is this salary details will also be in one more column. This department manager also will be in one more column. So everything will be in one state document. So that's the difference. So if you want to design something similar to NoSQL database, so everything will be in one particular record itself. So if you see this particular 1001 key has every details of the particular customer. So customer number 99, what are all the orders that he had, what are all the date. So if you saw another key, if the key number is 1002 and this is a customer ID and he has only one product item. So the difference here is in SQL database we can have different entities and you can join the tables for giving back the data or storing the data. In NoSQL database, whatever data that is required will be having in one particular record and we'll be querying it. So the difference is NoSQL database is going to be obviously faster. The reason for that is we are going to be having only one particular record and that particular record is going to be having every details. So in that case you can obviously have this question, right? So why not use a SQL database every time? So that's not the case. So SQL database, I mean the NoSQL database is pretty much expensive compared to SQL database. So whenever you see a NoSQL database, it is obviously going to be having data replication. There is no fixed data type. There are some complications like that. So if you want to keep it simple, I would suggest to keep it in this way. So imagine if you know this is a required number of columns that you already know. So before even starting to implement, if you know these are all the only kind of columns that is required, you can straight away go with SQL database. If you are not sure what are all the columns that is going to be coming, right? In that case, you can go with NoSQL database. So I don't want to complicate too much about what is a SQL and NoSQL database. There are so much of theoretical explanation videos in YouTube. You can watch it for free. So I'm going to leave that part as such and let's proceed with the demo part now. I'll quickly sign in into my AWS account. Until then, I'll post that fill a screen. All right, I sign into my AWS account now. So for this session, first we'll just look into how to create an RDS instance. So for this demo, I'm going to use Postgres database. So don't worry much about what is a Postgres database, something like that. So we'll go to the databases. We'll click create database. So I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. So for that, I'm going to click on easy create. I'll click on Postgres. So you can see something called as an Aurora. So don't confuse too much on that. So Aurora is pretty much expensive and we cannot cover the free tier things here. So I'm going to go with just PostgreSQL. I'm going to select free tier. So I will scroll down. I'm going to keep the database name as such. I'm not going to change anything. Let it generate the password for us. I'm not going to put it. And I think we should be good for now. So it is as simple as now. What you see, it is just as simple. There is nothing much complicated here. I'm going to click on create database. Yes. So let's wait until it's done. I think it will take a couple of minutes to complete. In the meantime, if you have any questions, you can feel free to post it in the comment section. I know this is a Sunday, and that's the reason I'm not trying to go much into all topics. I'm just trying to keep as simple as possible. And also, this session is recorded. You can come back anytime to revisit. So in the meantime, we need to download a software called as DB Viewer. Let me quickly show that. It's opening in ChatGPT. So you can go here and click on downloads. If you are using Windows, you can click here. If you are using some other operating system, you can obviously select any one of these and you can install it in your machine. So it is a free tool and we are going to use it to connect into our database. So we have our credentials here. I'll open DB Viewer for now. So it is in my another screen now. So I'll pull it here. Just a minute. Yep. So let me view the credentials. I'll copy it somewhere. So anyway, I'm going to delete the credential, I mean the database itself. So there is no problem in for me to display this particular key. So it might take few more minutes to initiate the database. So we will wait until then. Okay, the database is created now. We'll go to DB Viewer. You can click on this database, add a database symbol. We are going to be using Postgresql. Click on next. So these are the required fields here. If we go to host, so this is the endpoint is nothing but the host. So I'll click this. Instead of localhost, we'll paste this. Our database name is DB Viewer. There is, I mean, our database name is Postgres. There is nothing much changes here, and we'll paste the password that we just copied. And here is the thing. We are not going to be able to connect for now. I'll tell you the reason why. So there are some security things that we need to do. So let's first of all check what are all the security things that is configured currently. So you might not see this thing. So if I run now, probably my Postgres database will be connected, but that not might be the same thing for you. So in that case, what I would suggest you to do is you have to come to this particular security group. So you have to click this and it will take you here. So here what you have to do is you have to add a new rule, add all traffic, then select 000. So this particular thing I have already done. So it is in the first thing. So I'm not going to add it now. So once you have done that, so you will be able to connect. So, and also there is one more thing that we need to do. I think once our database is done, we can do that. I have to see this modify button. So until the modify button occurs or appears, we'll wait, because I know that we'll not be able to connect since our database is not public now, it is in private. So we have to click on modify, we have to make it as publicly accessible, and only then we will be able to connect into our database. All right, our database status is now available. We'll click on modify. We'll scroll down and let's find where we can. Yeah, this is the part I was talking about. So we need to select publicly accessible option here, and then click on continue, click on apply immediately, and let's wait until it's done. This might also take 2 to 3 minutes, so we have no other way. If it was a recorded session, I would have skipped it, but since it is a live session, we'll have to wait. So the status is in modifying. So once that is done, probably we should be able to connect to our database. The status is still in modifying status. We'll wait for a couple of minutes. Yeah, now we can see the status has updated to available. We'll go to DB viewer again. We'll click on test connection, and probably we should be able to connect to our database. Yes, so we are connected to our database. We'll click on OK. We'll click finish, and we'll open. So for today's session, I'm going to show you some mostly used SQL commands, so that you don't have to specifically learn SQL. So these are the most used SQL queries. So we are going to look into it one by one. So let's create a table for storing the user data. So example, when they log into our Netflix website, they need to have a name, they need to have a username, they need to have a password, right? So let's create a new table for doing that. I'm going to type create table user data, and let's have a column called username, and let's have a size limit for it as 100, and keep age as big int, then password as also varchar. Let's have 100 characters restriction, and then finally let's get their full name as well. So if you're wondering how I know these things, right? So this is something called as a syntax. So So this is common for each and every SQL languages. So whatever the data type, it might be Postgres, it might be MySQL, whatever. So if it is a SQL, this is going to be the exact template. So if you are able to understand English, you should be able to understand what is happening here. So we are going to create a table. This is a table name. These are all the fields. So we'll execute this. So we have created a table now. So this is a command for creating a table. So if you want to view what is inside a table, you can go here. You can select star from table name. So we just created a table. We do not have any data inside it. And also one more thing, this is not a fine-tuned table. So there are many other way for us to enhance the performance of the table. We are not going to look into that in this particular session. We are going to keep it as simple as possible. So as you can see, there is no data inside this particular table. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert a data into it. So let's do that now. So this is the syntax, and I hope you all know this. So this star means that we are going to select each and every column from the particular table. So example, if I select username alone, I'll be able to read only the particular column. I hope that made sense. And let's add a data into the table now. So first column is going to be username, the second column is going to be age, next column is going to be password, and then it's going to be full name. So we'll click on, so we'll go to the next line, we'll enter values. So what are all the values that we are going to enter in the first item? So I'll put the username as Ranjit, I'll enter the age as 27, I'll enter the password as, let's put password itself as password, and then finally we'll enter the full name. So if I enter this, if I execute this, we will be able to insert a record into the particular table called as user data. Actually I should have created as user data and not user date. So let's fix that also in later. Okay, now I want to delete this particular record alone. So for doing that, what I'll do is I'll put delete from this table where username equal to Ranjit. So you can also do the same thing in select also. So there is only one record with this particular name. Then I'll do this as well. I'm going to delete it. If we see now, the table is going to be empty. So we also want to drop this table, right? So since we have a wrong table name, I'm going to select the table name, execute it. I'm sure, yes, and we have dropped our table successfully. So if we select now, it is going to tell this table does not exist. So I hope this particular demo on SQL database helped you. So let's quickly go to DynamoDB and I'll quickly show you how to create a simple table on it as well, and then we'll wrap up this session. So before going there, let's kill this particular database. We'll click on modify, we'll delete this database. We don't want to read any data, we don't want any final snapshot as well. We'll click on delete me, we'll type delete me, and we'll click on I acknowledge. Yes, once this is done, I think we should be good to go. I hope we will not be getting any charge for this session. I'm absolutely sure, don't want to worry about that. So let's proceed with the DynamoDB part. Okay, so DynamoDB is a NoSQL database. As we previously saw, we can enter data inside it as a JSON type. So in our previous session itself, I told you we need to have some knowledge on what is a JSON objects. So we can obviously learn it even now. It's not a very much complicated things. So let's create a table here. So you have to come to DynamoDB. You have to select tables. You have to click on create table. I'll enter user data as well here. And the thing here is we can just have one particular column that is going to be unique. And in some cases, we might not be able to put one particular table which is a unique thing. So in that case, we can add one more column which is a sort key. So we can use this key to sort the data. So when we combine these both fields, it should be unique. So that's a catch here. So if your table is going to be having a unique key, then we can directly go with partition key alone. And adding a sort key will be having its own advantage as well. So in most cases, you might also not need it. All right. So what I would suggest is just focus on partition key alone for now. As we get more requirements, let's proceed with sort key. Okay. For now, I'll just create a new key. So here we'll be defining only one particular column alone. Okay. That column is going to be unique. So I'll put it as a number, and it's going to be ID, and everything else I'm going to be giving it as default. And then let's click create table. So the table is created now, and so this is a table. Let's explore the table items. So it is a new table, right? So we don't have any data here. So let's try to insert a new data. So this is a JSON structure, right? This is what we saw when we learned JSON. So let's add a column. So I'll name this ID as 1, and I'll add one more column. It is going to be username, and it's going to be string of Ranjit. And we are going to add one more column. It is going to be age. It is going to be number 27. 27. And we are going to add one more column, and it is going to be password. I'm going to put the password as well. And finally, we are going to enter the full name. And my full name is Ranjit Kumar. And once this is done, you can click on create items, and we can see here we have our columns. So we have our data here. So it is added as a separate column, but the only column that is required here is ID. So we can add one more item. You can put it as 2, but here is a catch. We don't need to add the only column which we defined. We can add something else also. We can put address, and I'm going to put Chennai. It is still going to accept it. So if you see here, column ID is going to be unique, and the ID 1 has different columns, and ID 2 has different columns. So that's a major advantage of using SQL. So when we are not sure what are all the columns that is going to be available for us, we can go with a NoSQL database. So let's try to query it. So I'm just going to put the ID here, and the ID 1 is going to be showing up. If I put 2 here, 2 is going to be showing up. If I put 3, there's no item called as 3, so we are going to get an empty records. So I hope this is clear. So I'll also show you one more thing before ending this session, and I'll go here, I'll enter, I'll change to the JSON view, and I will enter 1 here. So what do you think is going to happen here? Let's put something called as this name Ranjit. I don't want to complicate things. I'll just add one more extra column. So what do you think is going to happen here now? So let's see. So it does not allow us. So the primary key is already exists. So it cannot be duplicate. Right? I hope you understood this. So let's immediately delete this table as well. We'll click on view table, details. We'll click on delete table. We don't want, I will delete all the CloudWatch alarms. We don't want any backup, and then we'll click on confirm. Yeah, I think our table is generated now. Yeah, it is generated now, and I don't think there's going to be any charge for whatever the things that we did today. So that's it for today's session, guys. So I hope this session was helpful. I know this is Sunday. I know we cannot spare much time during our weekends. So this session is an recorded session. So you can anyway come back and look into it. So if you have any doubts, you can always try to reach out to me. I'm always available for whomever is passionate about programming. I'm there to help you guys. So I'll put another video for next week. So next week I'll not be available in Chennai. I'll not be here. I'll be out of session, so I'll not be able to live stream. So the next session will be a recorded session, and in the consecutive week I'll be uh, back live again. So until then, take care. If you have any questions, you can always put it out in the comment section, or you can reach out to me. So we'll catch up in another session. Bye.